The topic is, as set out there, I'm not going to talk about all water phenomena, I don't have time, but I will pick up on a couple of themes. I'm going to argue, basically, that we have an awful lot wrong with what we do both in our research and in our public policy, and I will try to illustrate that. I want to begin by making a distinction between complicated and complex. In the usage of this language, there are two different things. This is complicated. These are all of the pieces of a car laid out. I like to think of this as IKEA meets General Motors. IKEA, the Swedish company that sells you a cupboard in pieces, and it arrives and you have to put it together. This is complicated, but it's really relatively simple in some ways. You just add the pieces together. It's additive. On the right-hand side is a complex system. This is a group of birds flying. There's no leader, but they are forming, they're in formation. And a very simple model, a mathematical model of that complex system is called the simple Boyd model, which assumes that they all fly about the same speed. They fly towards the center of the flock to protect themselves against predators, and they try not to bump into each other. It's a self-organizing system. It does not have a leader. There's too many words there, but I just want you to scan the right-hand side. I would argue that complex thinking and complex systems analysis is the most recent, innovative recent development across the sciences, and I include the natural social sciences in that, and in engineering. Highly connected systems are complex, and they have several of those characteristics on the right-hand side. Now, the quick among you will see that some of those characteristics in red actually overlap. They may even be contradictory. That implies that this field is still developing. Don't worry too much about the number of words, we'll move on now. This way of thinking has been applied in a number of areas, and I've listed some there. I wish it had been applied to Delhi traffic. And there's been considerable progress in using simple models of complex systems to achieve many of the things that are there. But one of the interesting things that's emerged from this field is that the idea that a power law distribution is a signature of complexity. This is a fairly standard view of a distribution of phenomena. The bell curve, the Gaussian distribution, the normal curve. The university I work at normalizes all results to that, student results to that. But the curve on the right-hand side is now becoming what you might call the new normal. It is the power law distribution on, in that case, arithmetic axes. It has what is called a fat tail. The fat tail appears, obviously, because here in particular, this is the interesting bit, this is the higher end of the distribution. If you plot them in logarithmic space, this is a fat tail distribution, this is a normal distribution. And what you can immediately see from this is that if you estimate the probability of an extreme event of any kind using that distribution, you will massively underestimate it if that's the correct distribution. This is extremely important for risk analysis. Risk analysis in anything. Financial collapse. The likelihood of heart disease. Earthquake. Floods. And there's a list of some of the phenomena that actually are power law scale. That is an impressive list of phenomena. It's beginning to look like the power law, the fat tail distribution, or heavy tail distribution, is the new normal. Of course, in finance, this has become quite important. We were chatting over lunch about derivatives. This statement here is one of the most ignorant statements I've ever seen from a CFO, from a chief financial officer. This is one of the characters who nearly brought the world to its knees financially a couple of years ago. Remember the great financial crisis, Lehman Brothers, etc., on Wall Street? He says, we were seeing things that were 25 standard deviation moves several days in a row. The ignorance in that statement is that he's assuming a distribution which doesn't exist. If it's a parallel distribution, that statement makes no statistical sense. And yet he kept his job. The depth of ignorance in the finance industry is truly disturbing for all of us. If he is representative, I fear he may be. So here's the Factale distribution. There's the norm. You can see the difference in the upper range. So how does this help us? Well, let's take the case of the annual frequency of floods against the number of sites affected by floods. Both scales are logarithmic, and there's a power law distribution. Of course, there's quite a cluster of data here, but the rest of it is in reasonably good shape. This implies that predictions of flood magnitude and area affected are less conservative with the power law. In other words, the risk is higher than if you adopt what is the traditional method. And the one mandated, I might say, by engineering practice in many countries. Risks are therefore higher, therefore there are more vulnerable people. Here's one of my favourites, because it's a geomagnetic storm is a storm induced on the surface of our planet by a huge solar explosion. The sun from time to time goes mad and sends out a burst of plasma along with a large part of its magnetic field. That interacts with our planet. The effect in most times is the auroras in the northern lights and the southern lights. And they're beautiful and they don't cause a problem. But every now and then the sun goes really crazy. And it produces a huge storm. And this is a measure of the intensity of these storms, and guess what? It's power distributed. Again, we can actually estimate the probability of a really large event, which is out here. Now, it's 0.6% a year. So this falls into the category of low probability, high consequence event. So this is a 0.6% per annum is a low probability, high consequence event. But remember the standard formula for disaster estimates. It's the probability of a hazard, a solar storm, multiplied by the vulnerability, measured in some way. That's really difficult to do, by the way. So if you multiply these two numbers, a high probability, low consequence event has the same effect as a low probability, high consequence event. That makes no sense. So we need to think about better ways of dealing with these sorts of things. But why am I talking about geomagnetic storms and water? Because a geomagnetic storm of sufficient magnitude would blow up most of the high voltage transformers on the planet. This is possible. The high voltage transformers are gone, your electricity is gone. Your water pumps are gone. Sewage treatment is gone. That's a terrifying prospect. And it's a possibility. It's happened in other places. In Quebec in Canada, the entire water system was shut down by a geomagnetic storm. In Sweden it's happened, in South Africa it's happened, in New Zealand it's happened. It could happen globally if we have an equivalent of the 1859 Carrington event. And it could last for a year. No electricity for a year. Because it takes a long time to build high voltage transformers. Which raises a very interesting and difficult political and policy question. Should we have these high voltage transformers, which cost millions of dollars, sitting idly, waiting for a geomagnetic storm with a 0.6% probability per annum? That's a huge political risk. I can stand up in the coming UP election on Saturday and say, I just bought 500 of these high voltage things. The chances of it happening in my term in Parliament are pretty close to zero, but I've done good. The chances of you winning that election are pretty slim. And there are many other environmental hazards that scale as power laws, floods, earthquakes, hurricanes. There's a pattern here, isn't there? Now, here's another one. India probably invented polycentric governance. The notion of distributed governance systems, hierarchical. It's called Panchayati approach. Networks are really important for disaster governance, and for many other purposes. And we can use power laws, we can use complexity thinking to work out how best to protect these governance networks. For example, if our network nodal connections are distributed like this is this term here, K, then this applies. This is what is known as a scale-free or fat-tail network. There are many terms. If you remove nodes randomly, for example, you pull out shelters for flood areas or supply stations for medical supplies in an earthquake, you pull it out randomly. From a distribution like that, it will make very little difference. If, however, you pull out the larger ones, which are down here, the whole system collapses. So you need to know the kind of network you've got that you set up. And there's a relatively straightforward piece of mathematics that can be done to tell you that. And it enables you to protect your system against catastrophic failure. So not only are power laws apparently a signature of complexity, not the only one, but a signature of complexity, but also positive feedback may be the explanation for power laws. Positive feedback is very simply illustrated here. A very simple case, which is absurdly simple. Population increases, births increase, population increases. Everything else being equal, which it's not. But that's a case of a positive feedback or reinforcing loop. And the top there, floods get larger as nonlinear positive feedback occurs between soil saturation and runoff. Simple piece of hydrology. And scale-free networks grow by preferential attachment. A scale-free network, for example, in finance is one in which a company gets bigger and bigger as it gets more and more successful. The winners win more. Success to the successful. Is this a general theory? I don't think we really know. There's no positive feedback. Who might recognise this gentleman here? Obscuring the view. This was taken last year on a field trip in Assam. We're looking at embankments as a flood control mechanism or flood mitigation mechanism. Embankments have been the preferred flood control strategy in India for a very long time, despite considerable objections by many groups, including, during the British period, many British engineers. But do they bring complacency and reduce other opportunities? This is a question we're wrestling with. Here's a causal loop diagram that a colleague and I, Barry Newell, produced some years ago, which purports to hypothesize what might be going on. So we have at the top here flood losses. They may be damage or deaths. This leads to public pressure for action, which leads to levee development or embankment development to an extent. The height of the river, therefore, when the flood occurs is actually higher than it was before. The probability of disastrous floods goes up, not down, goes up. That sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? The actual threat goes up, the risk goes up, the flood losses increase. It would appear. Here, flood losses, public pressure for compensation, government flood relief schemes, etc. I've always found it a perverse piece of public policy that somebody goes and builds a house or whatever in a dangerous place, they get compensation when they get wiped out. This is very odd to me, because it drives decision making, which is dangerous. Anyway, this continues round, and you can see here, we can see another loop here, population. If you build levees, people move on to the floodplain because they feel safe, their vulnerability actually goes up to the biggest floods, not the small ones. And they lose experience of floods because the big flood comes, wipes them out. They only get one chance, n equals 1. Now, notice that every one of this R means reinforcing. Every one of these loops is reinforcing. It's a positive feedback system. It increases things. It increases vulnerability. It increases damage. Nature actually is composed largely of negative feedback systems, which control. major changes. The Gaia hypothesis of James Lovelock is exactly about negative feedbacks in the Earth system, which keeps our atmosphere within a relatively narrow band of change. What we've done through our use of hydrocarbons, etc., is to induce a positive feedback of the system. We have actually changed the Earth system from a largely negative feedback system to a positive feedback system. Unless we can get it back into a negative feedback system, we are, as they say, toast. We've done an initial test of this on a couple of trips to the sun and found that, unhappily, this largely works. I won't go through this in detail, I don't have time. The green is the sort of initial, and the results from here are the initial results. But some aspects of this were not understood by the people we surveyed. If this thing applies, we might imagine that flood damages get worse from the largest events. If the proponents of embankments are correct, then damage and deaths should not increase through time, they should decrease through time. Now, on the Brahmaputra, major construction of embankments began in the 1950s. There were some embankments there before, but major construction began in the 1950s. And here's a quick snapshot of some of the data from the Central Water Commission. This is the total damage, inflation adjusted, using inflation data from the Reserve Bank of India. And this is the year. Let's not get too excited about these things. There's no sign of a decrease. That's probably, it's at least partly due to increasing affluence, but also by people moving onto the floodplain. We saw many, many houses, relatively new houses on the floodplain, right behind the levee, the embankment. People feel safe. And here's another one, inflation-adjusted total damage. These are crore rupees. And here against the highest flood levels. And these are the highest flood levels. And it looks as if the damage just follows the flood levels. Which implies that the embankments don't do very much at all. But things may have been worse without the embankments. But we can't know that. That's what is called in philosophy a counterfactual. And I think we need to explore counterfactuals a little bit, but not today. Well, the deaths should not go up either, but they show very similar patterns. This is death rate, the total number of deaths in floods divided by the population of the state. To normalise the data, as the population grows, you need to normalise it. Really, it's very difficult to see any evidence that the embankments are doing very much at all, except, as I say, to repeat myself, things may have been worse without them. But there are other things going on. Here's the highest flood level at Dibrugarh against a year, and it's just going up and up. And it's going up for a couple of reasons. First of all, the Upper Brahmaputra Valley has one of the highest natural erosion rates in the world. The sediment coming into this river at huge rates. And the bed of the river is rising just as the whole basin is filling up with sediment. But secondly, there have been these earthquakes, 1897, 1950, which induced vast numbers of, well, the 1951, particularly well known, induced vast numbers of landslides which put sediment into the river, which is still going into the river as it's rising. So the river is adjusting to this huge new sediment load, and it's doing what graded rivers do. It gets shallower and wider. It's eroding its banks. It's eroding embankments. The hydraulic theory of this is pretty clear, pretty well understood. That's what graded rivers do. And yet the engineers, I'm sorry to say, don't understand the geomorphology of this river and think they can contain the Brahmaputra. Those very words are insane to me. Contain the Brahmaputra. It's one of the world's great rivers. That should not be the philosophy. Fractal deaths. Is it? It's a phrase I came up with this morning. I wouldn't repeat it. These are deaths by flooding in Assam. since 1953. And they're normalised deaths, taking a while. So what I've done here is to plot them in exactly the same way as you've seen the other power laws plot. This implies that there's something going on that is in the complexity field, for a start. But look at the graph, look at the inflection point. There's at least 2 methods of killing people by flooding. Maybe 3. The data up here are pretty sparse, so I wouldn't be too excited about that. It looks like there's at least 2 methods of people dying in floods. I'm not sure what they are. But this is really worrying. This is almost a vertical line. That implies that the maximum death rate for some floods has been reached. That's actually frightening, if I'm correct in that interpretation. I don't like saying these things, I really don't, but it looks feasible. And we're going further. My colleagues in Singapore, Liang Ching and Joost Bonen, have constructed some surveys which have now been completed and carried out by the Centre for Northeast Studies and Policy Research, with Dibrugarh driving that process. And the results coming out are fascinating. These are very early results, but it appears that the local people, in the main, not 100%, the local people really like embankments. And there are a couple of reasons for that, at least, and none of them knows more about this than me. One of them is that when a really big flood comes, they camp on the embankment. They've got somewhere safe to go. Also, we try to find some old people, that is, people of my age, who actually had lived before embankments were constructed. And we found only a very few. So most of the people we were speaking to, and my colleagues were speaking to, had always lived with embankments. They didn't know anything else. And I think that's a major. But academics, environmentalists, and some government officials really don't want embankments. It's going to be an uphill battle to make a major change. So just very quickly on the more generic complexity field, as a whole, there's a new field is opening up for PhD students. Here's a place you can publish potentially. If you've got a complexity turn of mind, that's what the editorial statement says. And I found this a very interesting paper. Network features and processes are determinants of organisation interaction during extreme events. So it goes back to my point about networks and disaster governance. Understanding and managing these networks is really important, because during the response phase, take for example the 2013 Dibrugarh flood or the Orissa cyclones, the organisation of the networks of relief is really important, and keeping that going. You can organise it before the event, but keeping it going during the emergency is a very real challenge. So, here's my take on where we've gone wrong. We haven't gone wrong in the past, perhaps. We've adopted, in our analysis of problems and our policy prescriptions, a gradualist approach. In other words, let's not change too fast. We've assumed linearity in relationships and mathematical relationships. We've taken a reductionist approach. We've split everything down into its bits and then tried to build it up again. We've assumed that equilibrium is possible. That's over for a very large class of problems. Think of globalization. The connectivities. The 2010 flood in Bangkok wiped $40 million insurance costs. It shut down Toyota, it shut down a whole lot of other companies which had global effects. Think of the financial crisis with its global effects. And now I see that the much heralded new president of the United States wants to take the regulations off the banks and financial institutions again. Put your money under the bed would be my recommendation. And public policy is not aligned to this new world. It's still stuck in a reductionist mode. Let's split it up into bits that don't talk to each other. How do we get to a governance system that actually takes this new and complex world seriously? Well, is it new, actually? Maybe it's just become more obvious. All right, so what can we do? We can do better estimates of probabilities of extreme events using power laws, which is a signature of. We can design and manage networks probably better, not just for water and disaster governance. But there have been limited applications of these methods, and partly for good reasons. For example, engineers operate on the basis of a code of practice. It's a legal document that enables them to do things with which they won't be sued. And you can see why that is necessary. But there are governance silos. Trying to get government departments to talk to each other. Okay. Highly technical representations by people like me don't help. And lack of understanding by almost everybody working around this business. But the power law is universal. That's perhaps its greatest power. But we need a major shift in perspective. I put down an example here which may seem a little crazy, but we need to go beyond silos. Just think about the joint probability of a financial crisis, led perhaps by that moron of a CFO that I quoted earlier, if you'll excuse the expression, oh dear, I'm being recorded, and a major solar storm, and a lack of preparedness. Just think about that. We had no money to do anything, and we had no power to even see that we had no money, because the ATMs are broken. Well, they still are, aren't they? So, is this too fanciful? Possibly. That's probably not where you start convincing policy specialists to think in a different way. But it's one of the things we should be thinking about. And I'd suggest that there is, however, I'll end on a slightly more realistic note. We can. There is a saying amongst some hydrologists that the past is no longer a guide to the future because of climate change. And of course that's true, at least to some degree now. But the past is, in its extremes, still a guide. Because it is quite possible that those extremes won't really change all that much. The maximum extremes. But we need to keep monitoring, and if the power law applies, we need to adapt it for adaptive policy, for flood mitigation. So we have multiple levels of adaptation. Thank you.